So, hi everyone. Good evening. We are live. Cool. It's Wednesday evening, and I hope you all had a great day. So, if you joined the session, then as always, say hi in the chat. So, if you are on Instagram or on YouTube or on Facebook, today we have an interesting topic. I didn't prepare anything up until like 2 hours ago. So I asked in on Instagram in my stories. I sent out a request to collect some ideas about the topic for the live today, and I received some very cool suggestions, and I will tackle all of them during the next days. But today I want to talk about which management consulting firm you should choose, because this was a question. The question was like, besides MBB and the big four accounting firms, so what kind of companies are out there, and what kind of companies should you join? And that's the topic I want to talk about today. So if you come to the chat, then as always, please state where you're from, and also for which firm you're working, maybe, because this is a very relevant topic today. Good. Then I would say let's start with the topic today. Cool. So, which firm should you work for in management consulting? Today, I would talk about my view and how I would approach this problem. Hi everyone, my name is Johannes Niari, and welcome to this channel. Welcome to Mastering Consulting. And on this channel, I want to help you to learn the necessary skills to have a great career in management consulting, but also I want to help you to have a well-balanced life while you're working in this very intensive and competitive industry. And today we have a great topic. We will talk about which management consulting firm you should choose. This topic was requested on Instagram, so I will take the next like 15 minutes to talk about this topic. So this is part, as you probably know, of my daily live series. So I do a live session every day, usually around 10 p.m. CET. And if you're new to this channel, and if you're on YouTube, then please subscribe, put a thumb up, and hit the bell. And on Instagram, please follow my account if you want to receive more content about your career in management consulting. And as always, I will go through the content first, and if you have any questions, then just write them in the chat. I will go through them afterwards and answer all of them at the end. So this will hopefully make it a bit more fluent. Okay, cool. So let's start. So which management consulting firm should you join? So as always, let me start with a short backstory. So when I graduated from university, like four years ago, roughly, obviously for me, the big question was, which firm should I join? And for me, during my studies, I did a lot of internships at several kind of consultancies. So at the Big Four, I also a more specialized firm, also an internal consultancy, but also in the strategy sector. And for me, it was pretty clear that I wanted to go to a strategy consulting firm. And actually, I always wanted to go to McKinsey, Bain, or BCG, because obviously these are like the big flagships for management consulting. And I had like the right grades for it. I had a practical experience, and actually my entire career was prepared to, or was adjusted to join McKinsey, Bain, or BCG. Nevertheless, when I had to make the decision, I decided to go for a smaller firm. I decided to join a strategy consulting boutique. The firm is called Stern Stewart. It's mainly active in Europe, but the topics are very similar, actually the same. like McKinsey, BCG, and Bain do. And still, I think this was the best decision that I ever made. Okay, and today I will talk about why I made this decision, and maybe this is also something that helps you. Maybe one remark up front. I know that in some consultancy chat rooms, like forums and so on, there's a kind of brand bashing, like that there is one side that is only, okay, you have to go to MBB, and there is the other side that says, no, you don't have to, MBB sucks and you have to join another firm. I think it's a very individual decision, and as you probably know, so I don't want to have any kind of brand bashing in this chat here or in my community. So that just as a short remark up front. Okay, so I will tackle mainly three topics today. So the first one is that I will give you a short overview over the consulting industry, at least as I see it. Then second, I will talk about factors that helped me back then to make a decision which kind of firm I should join. And the third one is that I talk about typical career paths in management consulting. And this is the structure for today. So maybe as a start, let's talk about what kind of consulting firms are out there in the market. And for me, there are mainly 7 categories, okay? So the first one is the strategy consulting sector, and I'm talking about MBB. So this is McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. And as you probably know, these are the 3 big firms with the best reputation. They are globally active, and what they are doing is that they advise really the top management, and they are tackling a lot of strategic questions. So usually they are doing 3 things. So they are doing revenue increase project, they are doing cost reduction project, and they are doing organizational projects. And for many young consultants, MBB is like the place to go. And obviously because of the reputation and also the offer that those firms have. It's incredible what they offer in terms of career opportunities, in terms of internationality, in terms of diversity of projects. So that's just how it is. And this is so to say the first sector. It's strategy consulting, and it's McKinsey, BCG, and Bain mainly. There are other tier 2 firms as well, but I put those in the same category. Then the second bucket are the big 4 accounting firms. So this is Deloitte, KPMG, PwC, and Ernst & Young. And these are also very big brands. They are mainly busy in their accounting field, obviously, but they also have a very strong and increasing consulting business. And these firms are more in the financial and operational sector. In general, of course, they do some strategy projects as well, but usually they are more on the operational level, especially compared to McKinsey, BCG, and Bain. So that's the second bucket. The third bucket are technology consultancies. Typical firms here are Accenture, Capgemini, and so on. And these are firms that are also more on the operational level, and they have a strong technology and IT focus. It's important to say that all of those firms diversify. So they're all doing other types of projects as well, or try to move into those business areas. But their focus is nevertheless on technology for Accenture and Capgemini and all the other technology firms. Then for me, the fourth bucket are boutique firms and more specialized firms. So those are firms that are smaller. They usually are in a kind of niche where they are positioning themselves. And they are usually have a very strong expertise in a certain topic. Okay, so maybe this is just a kind of functional expertise. So for example, there is a niche consultancy for sales projects, for procurement, logistics, and so on. Or they have a focus on a strong focus on an industry, like for example, a very niche consultancy for the media industry, for retail, and so on. Okay, so this is the fourth category, like boutique firms and specialized firms. Then the sixth category are internal consultancies. So especially at the large corporates, you very often have internal departments that also do kind of strategy consulting work. So usually those are departments that hire ex-consultants, usually former partners or senior project managers from established firms, and they use this kind of resources to build their own consulting capacity. What they are usually doing is that they mostly tackle internal problems. So the firms say, okay, instead of paying like 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 per day for a strategy consultant, they rather build an own department and can charge it's much more cost efficient, obviously. Okay, so those are the internal consultancies. And then the seventh bucket, last but not least, are solo consultants and all the independent entrepreneurs, and this is by far the largest sector in management consulting. So I know this channel is mostly about like working for consulting firms, but you have to keep in mind that by far the large part of management consulting is based on solo consultants and on very, very small firms. Okay, so those are the 7 buckets. Just to recap, so it's strategy consulting / McKinsey, Bain, BCG. Then you have the big 4 accounting firms like PwC, Deloitte, KPMG, and Ernst Young. Then the technology firms such as Accenture, Capgemini. Then you have specialized firms and boutique firms. You have internal consultancies, and you have all those solo consultants and entrepreneurs. Okay, so this just to give you an overview how I think about the market and how I would cluster the market, just to give you an overview. And I will talk about my firm at the end if you're interested in it, but this is not part of my agenda. So if you're interested in the firm that I work for, you can ask me afterwards in the chat. Cool. So now let's talk about the factors that I see as important if you have to make a decision which kind of firm you should choose. And I think the very, very most important part of choosing the right firm is that you figure out what is important for you personally, okay? And I really mean that. So if you have to make the decision right now, so if you're thinking about what kind of firm you should join, it's very important that you maybe take those list of factors that I will give to you and maybe think about, okay, which of those factors is important to me and which of those factors isn't. And this usually helps you a lot to make a clear decision, okay? So factor number 1 is which kind of tasks, problems, or topics are you working on, okay? So as I just said, all of those firms have a certain speciality, like strategy, like more finance-oriented, technology-oriented, more function-oriented. So I think the first step is that you think about what kind of problems do you want to tackle, okay? Are you more like the strategy guy? Do you want to work with senior management? Or maybe you are just a tech guy who really likes to doing all the operational work and wants to become an expert in a very specific certain field. Do you want to become a generalist or a specialist? So it's very important that you think about what kind of problems you want to solve. Okay, if you have no idea at all, then go for the generalist, right? Because this will give you usually a very good overview of all the tasks in management. But step number 1 is think about what you want to do in terms of topics, tasks, and problems that you want to solve. Then factor number 2 is go for the how important is reputation for you. So many people go to a consultancy to also kind of pimp their CV, okay? So let's say many people go into consulting for 2 or 3 years so that they have it on their CV and usually use that to join another firm and to join in a higher position, okay? So think about how important is a strong brand name on a CV. Because if it is important, then usually you should go for the larger brands like MBB or the big 4 accounting firms. But if you say, hey, it's not too important for me because I see a long-term career maybe in management consulting, or I want to become an entrepreneur afterwards, then it's not too important to have one of those great names on your CV. Okay, so this is factor number 2. Think about the reputation. Then factor number 3 is the salary, obviously. So for some people, salary is very important. So yeah, I just leave it like that. So they say, okay, salary is kind of a measure of my worth. And there are other people who say, okay, the salary is not important for me at all. Okay, so decide what kind of role the salary really plays for you. And one important remark, it's not always about the entry salary that you have. This is not the important part, okay? So try to figure out how much your salary increases over, let's say, 2 to 3 to 5, whatever your time horizon is, years, okay? So think not only about like the entry salary, but also what can you expect to receive like in 2, 3, or 5 years, okay? Because some firms have a small or smaller compared to others entry level salary, but then sometimes it goes up very quickly if you stay in a firm a bit longer. Okay, so this is factor number 3. How important is salary for you? Then factor number 4, is what kind of career opportunities do you have at that firm, or how important is that for you? Okay, or what kind of opportunities do you want to have? For example, like McKinsey, Bain, BCG, they usually have a strong international network. So if you say, okay, you want to, I don't know, let's say you are from Germany, because I'm from Germany, and you want to spend like 1 year in Malaysia and work there, then you probably should rather go for a large consultancy with a very strong international network. Otherwise, if you say, hey, you want to become CFO, for example, that's your large goal, or you want to become head of controlling or whatsoever, then maybe it's better for you to join a very focused and niche consultancy with a strong financial focus, because you have better career opportunities for your personal goal in such a firm. Okay, so factor number 4 is think about what kind of career opportunities you want to have. Factor number 5, and this is also a very important factor, is the work environment and the values that the firm represent. And if I talk about work environment, I talk about the people you're working with. Remember, in consulting, you spend a lot of time with your colleagues, okay? Not now in Corona, actually, because everyone is working from home, but usually in the normal consulting world, back then, good old days, you used to work with a consulting team, usually in a small room, like 14 hours a day, okay? This for 5 days a week. So the type of people you're working with, so the personalities you're working with, so the spirit of the people, it's very, very important. And this can really make a difference if you're happy on the job or if you don't. Because keep in mind, like consulting can be very, very intense, okay? And there will be good times, but there will also be a lot of bad times. So the kind of people can really help you to get through those kind of hard times, and they can really make a difference in how you feel about your work and how happy you are in your job, okay? So think about how important is it, what kind of people do you want to hang around with, and usually if you go to the interviews and to all the assessment centers, you get a good impression how people are in the company you have the interview with, and you can see if there's a personal connect. Okay, so this is factor number 6, work environment and values. And then the last factor, it's also a very important factor, are the requirements. And this is for many people very often the problem. So of course you need to think about, and you need to think about it realistically, do you fulfill the requirements for the firm? So as you probably know, joining like McKinsey, BCG, and Bain can be very, very hard, okay? So you have to have like top 5% from university, so from your graduation year. You also have to like have extraordinary practical experience. You have to have the great personality, and you also have to get through the assessment day. So it's very tough to get into those firms. But then there are, on the other hand, smaller firms that offer kind of a similar working environment and salary and type of projects, where it's a bit easier to get in, for example, okay? And also it's a very big difference if you join like MBB or if you join a Big Four accounting firm, okay? So think about it in a realistic and honest way. What are the requirements, and is there a chance that you fulfill those requirements? Okay, so don't waste any time applying or aiming for all of the big firms if you know already that you don't have the requirements for that, because this is just a waste of time. And I promise you, there are tons of companies, like hundreds of companies, that can make you happy even if you don't fulfill the requirements for like the big firms. Okay, that's just as a side comment here. Cool. So just to summarize, the 7 important factors that I think are important for making a career choice. It's first of all, think about what kind of tasks, topics, and problems you want to solve. Second, think about how important reputation is. Third, think about how important salary is for you. Fourth, think about the career opportunities that the firm can offer you. Sixth, think about the work environment and the values within the firm. How important is that to you? And seventh, think about, do you fulfill the requirements or don't you? So these are the factors that are important. If you have any questions so far, then please write them in the chat. I will answer them in like 5 minutes. And we'll talk about typical career path first, okay? So what are like typical career paths? So the initial question why I did this video, because someone asked me on Instagram, what are other career paths besides MBB and the big four accounting firms? And for me, this means like you have two choices: either go for a reputation and like the big brands, or choose a more like a niche firm, maybe a boutique firm such as I did. Or a firm that has not that reputation like the big four or MBB. And for me, there are two cases. So you should definitely go for the big brands like MBB and the big four accounting firms if you only want to stay for 2 or 3 years in the industry and want to have a great brand on your CV. Then I would recommend to go for the big brands like MBB and the big four accounting firms. Also, if you want to have a strong international exposure. So obviously, if you want to like travel a lot, if you want to work in different countries and continents, obviously you need a company with a very strong international network, okay? So if you're aiming for that, you also should go for the big brands. And another factor when you should go to a big brand is if you don't know what to do, okay? So many people graduate and they have no idea what they want to do with their life. So usually they go to a management consultancy so that they have another 2 or 3 years to think about it. And in that case, I also can recommend to you to go to a large firm, to a big brand, because they usually you are more like a generalist, and having this brand and this network and meeting all of those people, it's usually, yeah, you can't do anything wrong with that, okay? So let's repeat. If you only want to work like 2 or 3 years in the industry, if you want to have a strong international exposure, and also if you don't know what you want to do in your professional life yet, then you should go for, or should rather go for one of those big brands like MBB or Big Four. On the other hand, you should choose a more specialized or a firm with not such a great brand in the case that you want to become an expert in a certain field, okay? So if you want to go for the niche, if you want to have a very strong positioning and want to build an expertise in a certain topic, then maybe it's better for you to choose a smaller firm that has not like the big brand like McKinsey, BCG, and the Big Four. Also, if you have a strong entrepreneurial spirit and like to work in low hierarchies, then it could also be a good decision for you to join a smaller firm, because usually it's much easier to have a great career in a smaller firm if you bring the spirit, because I mean, obviously it's not that competitive like in the big firms, okay? And also, if you know exactly what you want to do, if you have a very clear career path, then sometimes it can also be wise to join a smaller firm, because sometimes those small firms, maybe let's say if they have a very strong industry expertise, so like a niche consultancy in, let's say, the logistics industry, sometimes they have such a strong network that it's very easy after that to make a great career in the logistics industry, for example, okay? So to summarize, if you want to become an expert in a certain field, if you have a strong entrepreneurial spirit and like low hierarchies and flat hierarchies, and also if you have a clear career path in mind, then also it could be wise to join a smaller firm. Cool. So that's helped you. So I gave you an overview over the consulting firms. I talked about important factors if you have to make a career choice, and I also talked about typical career paths. So when I think it's better to join a large firm with sort of the big brands, or if you should rather join smaller firms. Good. I will go through the questions now. So if you have any questions, then please write them in the chat. I'm actually running out of power, so I have to hurry up a little bit. Is there a huge gap salary between MBB and Big Four compared to smaller firms? It highly depends. So, for example, I'm working for Stern Stewart, and they are paying much higher salaries than MBB, for example. The reason is that the firm is very specialized in strategy and also like more in private equity sector. So it's a much smaller firm, but they are paying better. But the opposite can be the case as well. So like there are also smaller firms that have a lower salary than MBB and Big Four. So it highly depends. It's hard to say. You really have to take a look at it. But I mean, it's not true that MBB is paying the highest salaries. It's simply not true, right? So there are many other smaller firms that offer similar or even higher salaries. How much salaries tend to increase? Yeah, it depends. I think you could expect at least like 10% per year. Okay, so at some firms the increase is higher. Like again at Stern Stewart, a firm where I work. So there we have more than 10%, but I think between 10 and 15% should be the average salary increase per year. So roughly. Is it still possible to join MBB without a master from a target university? Yes, of course it's possible, but it's much more difficult, right? I mean, look, what you need to do is that you show the company that you bring what they need, and this is usually that you have the right skills and that you have the right personality. Those are the two important things. So if you find a way to prove those two things without coming from a target university, I mean, then you can make it, right? But it's very hard to do that. So, for example, you should do a lot of internships, great internships. You should try to maybe get a personal contact into the firm so that you get a recommendation. Or maybe you go the other way and say, okay, you join the industry first and you come to MBB as an industry expert. Okay, so it's very important. So there's always a way to get in. Okay, but maybe you have to be a bit more creative, and maybe it's not like the easy way that you choose, but there's always a way. But the easiest way, just let's be honest, is go to a target university and have good grades. Will make your life easier. Good. Then, if you don't have any more questions, then thank you for your time. And 10% without promoting. No, I would say on average. So most firms have each year a promotion, like at least a salary increase. Okay, so that's what I would say. But most firms usually you have every 2 years a promotion, but most consultancies have after like 12 months, after 1 year, a slight salary increase to keep you motivated. Okay, I'm running out of power, so the live stream might be broken in a second. So when is the right time to specialize in industry? As an analyst, we mostly have the option to work on many industries. Yeah, I would go for the generalist first, especially the first 2 to 3 years, until you know what you want to do. So if you already know, okay, this is your industry because you have some personal background in that industry, then you can go for it immediately. But if you say, okay, you just want to learn, I would always suggest to first go abroad and then to specialize after 2 or 3 years. Cool. So if there are no more questions, then thank you for your time, and it was fun to me. If you have more suggestions for the next live sessions, then please write me on Instagram. Also on Saturday, 10 a.m. CET, I will do a 60-minute Q&A session. So if you have any questions that we couldn't answer now, then just write me and I will answer them on Saturday. Cool. So with that being said, I hope you liked it. It was fun to me. I wish you a great evening and a great rest of the week. And then I will talk to you tomorrow in the next live. Goodbye.